Welcome back to DeFi Exploits Explained. Today a trap the very first person into a vault can set for everyone who deposits after them. It's called the inflation or first depositor attack, and it has drained real vaults for millions. The attacker deposits $1, donates a pile of tokens straight to the vault to jack up the share price, and then the next depositor's money rounds down to 0 shares, and the attacker redeems the whole pot. We'll build it, watch a victim get 0 shares for a real deposit, and fix it with the technique the big vault standards now bake in. Let's go. One idea drives the whole hack. A vault takes your tokens and gives you shares, a claim on a slice of everything it holds. The number of shares you get is your deposit times the total shares already out, divided by the total assets the vault holds. When the vault is empty, the first depositor just sets the price. It's 1 share for 1 token. And here's the knife. That division is integer division, it rounds down. If the attacker can make the share price big enough, a real deposit can round all the way down to 0 shares. Your money is in the vault, but you own nothing. And this actually happens again and again. The pattern hit lending protocols and yield vaults across the space anywhere a fresh vault or a new market goes live with 0 deposits. The attacker watches for the first real depositor, front runs them, seeds the vault with 1 way, then donates a large amount of tokens straight into it, no deposit call, just a raw transfer, which pushes the share price sky high. The victim's deposit lands, rounds to 0 shares, and the attacker redeems their single share for the entire vault, victim's money included. It got baked into the RC4626 vault standard as the canonical thing to defend against. Let's build the core. Let's slow this right down, because the whole trick hides in 2 words that sound the same but aren't: deposit and donate. When you deposit, you hand the vault money and it mints you shares. Think of a share as a receipt, your claim on a slice of everything inside the vault. When you donate, you hand the vault money, but it means you nothing, no receipt. So the same shares now cover more money than before. And every share that already exists quietly becomes worth more. Hold on to that difference. It's the entire attack. Now watch. Step 1. The attacker deposits a single way and gets the vault's first and only share, so they own 100% of an almost empty vault. Step 2. The attacker donates 100 WETH, a raw transfer, no deposit, so no new shares are minted. That 1 share they're holding is now backed by 100 WETH. Step 3. The victim comes along and deposits 100 WETH for real, expecting a fair slice. But here's the cruel part. The vault can only ever hand out whole shares, it cannot mint you half a share. At 100 WETH per share, the victim's 100 WETH is worth just a hair under 1 whole share, and the vault always rounds down, so it mints them 0. Their money is sitting inside the vault. Their claim on it is nothing. Step 4. The attacker redeems their 1 share, still 100% of all shares, and walks out with the entire 200 WETH. It's like buying the only share of a company for a cent, then donating $100 into its bank account, so that 1 share is suddenly backed by $100, and the next investor's $100 buys them nothing at all, because you simply can't be issued half a share. Let's build it in Foundry. A minimal share vault, a mock WETH, and a test that runs the attack and checks the result. Everything's local, against no real users and no real money. We start with the skeleton, a vault that holds a WETH token, tracks total shares and tracks each user's shares. 3 functions: empty for now, total assets, which reports the WETH the vault holds, deposit, which mints you shares, and redeem, which pays shares back out as WETH. Now we fill them in the way the share math turns deadly. Here the vault total assets just returns the WETH balance the vault holds. Deposit is the heart of it. If there are no shares yet, you're the first 1 share per token. Otherwise, shares are your assets times total shares over total assets, and that division rounds down. Redeem is the mirror. Your shares times the vault's assets over total shares paid out in WETH. It all looks completely standard, and that's exactly why this bug shipped in so many vaults. The danger is hiding in a rounding down that's usually harmless. Before we run it, read the test. We give the attacker 1 way to deposit plus 100 WETH to donate, and the victim 100 WETH. Acting as the attacker, deposit 1 way, then transfer 100 WETH straight into the vault. That's the donation. Then, as the victim, deposit 100 WETH and record the shares they get. Finally, the attacker redeems their 1 share. The claim is stark. The victim's shares are 0, and the attacker walks away with more than they put in. Run it and read the ledger. The victim deposited 100 WETH and their shares 0, not a rounding of a few way, 0, nothing. The attacker redeems their single share and gets back 200 WETH, their 100 WETH donation plus the victim's 100. Attacker profit, exactly 100 WETH, the victim's entire deposit lifted clean. Passing green means the drain worked precisely as designed. So how do you kill an attack like this? You take away the one thing that made it possible. The first depositor's power to own everything and set the price by themselves. The fix is called virtual shares or an offset, and here's the plain English version. The vault is born already pretending to hold a big batch of phantom shares, say 1,000 of them, that nobody owns, plus a phantom coin of assets. Those shares aren't real, no one can ever redeem them, they just sit there in the math. But they change everything. Look at the left side, without the offset, the attacker's single way buys the only share, so they own 100% and set the price alone, and the next deposit rounds to 0. Now the right side, with the offset, that single way is a drop next to 1,000 phantom shares, so nobody can own the whole vault. And when the attacker donates, that donation is spread across thousands of shares instead of 1, so it barely nudges the price. The victim's 100 WETH now means them almost 2,000 real shares, and they redeem very nearly their full 100 back. And why can't you just skip the offset? Because without it, the very first depositor alone decides the price and integer rounding does the rest. That is the entire bug. The offset takes that power away, and that is the whole thing that makes the rounding harmless. It's exactly what OpenZeppelin's Vault standard bakes in by default. Let's write it. Here's that offsetting code. In both formulas, the deposit and the redeem, we add a fixed number to the total shares and a 1 to the total assets. Our little bit of permanent phantom liquidity. That's the entire change. Now those virtual shares are baked into the denominator, so the first depositor can't own everything right away, and the donation gets deleted instead of moving the price, and the victim's deposit can no longer round down to 0. A couple of plus signs, exactly what OpenZeppelin's Vault does under the hood, and the trap is gone. The same attack, now against the fixed vault. The attacker deposits 1 way and donates 100 WETH, just like before, but now the victim's 100 WETH deposit mints them almost 2,000 shares, real ownership, not 0, and when they redeem, they pull back very nearly their full 100 WETH. The donation attack simply doesn't pay anymore. One virtual offset and a guaranteed theft becomes a non-event. One more thing, because a passing test on a local fork can feel like a sandbox. To prove this is real, I took the exact same vulnerable vault and deployed it to Sepolia, a public Ethereum testnet, through my own Chainstack node. Every transaction you're about to see was signed, broadcast, and mined for real, and I read each result back through that same node to confirm the numbers. This isn't a simulation anymore. It's permanent, it's public, and anyone can open it and check every field themselves. Let's read the 3 transactions that tell the whole story. Here they are on Sepolia's Etherscan top to bottom. Transaction 1, the donation. It's sent from the attacker's address, the one starting 2620, and the status is a green success, gas price 5 gwei, a fraction of a cent. This is the attacker sending 100 WETH straight into the vault, no deposit call, just a raw transfer. After it, the vault holds 100 WETH but still only 1 share, so that 1 share is now worth 100 WETH. Transaction 2, the victim, a completely different address, starting 3, a 7-6. Look at the token transfer line, 100 MUC WETH moving from the victim into the vault. Status, success, the deposit went through cleanly, and that's the cruel part. The victim's money is now sitting in the vault, but the deposit minted them 0 shares, the division rounded to nothing. Transaction 3. The redeem back to the attacker's address. Read its token transfer line carefully. 200 WETH and 1 WEI, leaving the vault and landing in the attacker's wallet for their single share. Half of that is their own donation coming home. The other half is the victim's deposit, stolen. 3 transactions, 3 green check marks. You don't have to trust the test or trust me. Paste any of these hashes into sepolia.etherscan.io and every number is right there on a public chain. Quick recap. A vault prices shares as assets over shares, an integer division rounds down, an attacker seeds 1 WAE, donates directly to spike the price, and the next depositor rounds to 0 shares while their money stays in the vault. The standard fix is virtual shares and assets, a small offset that the donation can't overcome, which is exactly what OpenZeppeli's vault bus does. You can also just seed the vault yourself at deploy or require a minimum first deposit. The rule underneath all of it, never let the very first depositor set the price alone. A quick note, rebuilding these hacks safely and explaining them line by line takes real work. If it helps you, the wallets are on screen and there's a Ko-fi link below. Every tip funds the next breakdown. Thank you. That's the first depositor inflation attack, a UAE of dust and a donation that turns the next person's deposit into 0 shares, rebuilt and fixed in a couple dozen lines. Next episode, Oracle manipulation, how a flash loan can bend a price feed for a single block and drain a protocol that trusted it. Subscribe so you don't miss it, tell me in the comments which exploit to break down next, and I'll see you there.